Thanks very much.
Branson isn't the only hugely successful entrepreneur in Britain. Last night, Enterprise magazine named its top 100 entrepreneurs of '99. They were selected using 3 criteria: growth in sales for the company, growth in employment, and of course the growth in each entrepreneur's personal income. Here to tell us who's got what it takes, if you see what I mean, is Martin Leach of Enterprise magazine, and also Dr. Chris Evans, whose company Merlin came in at number 4, I think, was it, Chris?
Yeah.
You must be disappointed you didn't get one.
Oh yeah, I'll get it eventually.
Yeah. Now you're into biotechnology, which presumably, as far as you're concerned, is just expanding all the time.
Yeah, it's I specialise in the medical side, pharmaceuticals, medical breakthroughs of biotechnology, not the GM plant side, which I have no interest in.
Right. Okay. And how tough is it at the moment? Presumably you're doing quite well. But
Yeah, I mean, biotechnology is a long game. You have to raise large sums of investment and run it over a 7 to 10 year period, developing all sorts of novel medicines. You're back in research, lots of people. It's far more complicated than building a retail outlet or some little internet company or something like that.
Do you export much?
Well, we do. Yeah, you export everything when you do it.
Yeah. Right. But I mean, are the interest rates hurting you?
No, it's because it's a long-term game. You have to raise the money and invest it, so you have very little income for maybe 7 or 8 years. Almost no sales at all.
How difficult is it starting your own business and being successful in the UK? Because we constantly hear about banks not being helpful. You know, they're only interested in giving you money that you can prove you've got it already.
Exactly,
and that sort of
yeah, they lend you a brolly when it's sunny and take it away when it's raining, and everybody knows that. They're not very helpful to my sort of business because we have to raise millions of pounds very quickly, then tens of millions, and then ultimately 100 million to back the research. You can't get that from a high street bank. But for other SMEs, other entrepreneurs getting out, banks are getting better. You know, banks like NatWest, for example, are definitely putting up money for first-time entrepreneurs and giving them the initial seed capital to get going. So they're getting a lot better in the last few years.
The other sort of conventional wisdom is that we come up with all the good ideas in the UK and then they're developed abroad.
Oh yes, we do. I mean, over 70% of all the Japanese inventions, for example, originated in the UK. I mean, they're the guys who took them, nicked them and innovated them. And same in the States. You've got very enterprising individuals in America who pick up bits of science from Great Britain and really exploit it. And we've been lousy at exploiting stuff, but we're getting much better. The last 5 years in particular, and in fact the last 2 years with this current government really backing enterprise big time, really pushing it, all sorts of incentives coming in, backing research, pumping more money in and saying, come on, get out there and be an entrepreneur, be a one-time off and back the science. So it's happening.
The knighthood's in the post, by the way. And the top 100 in the Enterprise magazine, Martin, I counted only 3 or 4 women there. That's appalling, isn't it?
I think actually there are 6 women in the list this year, which is a few more than last year. So I'm pleased to see that more women are in the list this time round.
What's your theory on that? Why aren't there as many, or even proportionally, enough female entrepreneurs?
I think they are around, but it's always been quite difficult for women traditionally, and I think there will be more to come. I'm absolutely certain that next year we'll see that figure double.
Do the banks, is there any evidence that the banks discriminate against them?
I haven't heard of any instances of that as such, so no, I'm not aware of that.
Now, what sort of companies presumably the internet is pretty big at the moment or growing. Is that overhyped or is that a sustainable sort of industry?
There were a few internet companies in the list this year, but again, I'm pretty sure that next year we'll see a lot more of those. A lot of the companies in the list this year are in IT, in telecommunications, mobile phones, and pharmaceuticals, that type of business.
I was going to ask, do you think the culture of the internet has actually helped with investment? That, you know, perhaps there are more venture capitalists more willing to invest generally in industry because the culture of the internet demands such huge investment now?
It's definitely. I think it's fantastic. I mean, for high growth, high technology industries where you've got to invest up front for many years before you get the profits coming from the sales that you're trying to generate. The internet's been superb, stimulating, exciting with big institutions willing to punt the money quickly and get in there and get involved. No, it's been superb. And we're still way behind America, way behind in Europe.
Do you think we're not in danger of a bit of an alternative boom-bust economy, though, when perhaps expectations aren't met when the market matures in 5-10 years' time?
No, I'm afraid it's always cycles. High technology, you get cycles, ups and downs, ups and downs. In the States, you can look back over 20 years and see 5 or 6 cycles in my industry, in biotechnology, big peaks, big troughs. And you've got to take, you know, the rough and the smooth as it comes. And I think too many people are always whinging, doom and gloom, and you've got to be consistent. And you see a lot of the entrepreneurs in the top 100 entrepreneurs are guys who are relentlessly working, are consistent, are committed through the good and the bad times. And that's how they get there. And I think that's got to be the attitude. It's the attitude of the the Americans than the British. You know, things go wrong, we'll start whinging.
Yeah.
Oh, God. You know, and you know, we just got to pick yourself up and say, "Hey, get on with it. You know, it's going to be good another time." And same with stock markets. You look at them when they're down. My sort of companies now, difficult to float on the stock market till you got a critical mass north of 150 million pounds or something. So if you've only got a company with 20 million, you think, "Oh God, how am I going to float it?" Eventually, you build the company's critical mass, and you can get on the stock market, get out there, and it just takes time.
Chris, Martin, thanks very much for
Thank you.
coming in. That's great. Inspiration.